Welcome into Other People's Shoes. I'm your host, Neil, and today again we sit down with somebody that is not from my youth group. Okay, that's a little bit of a change, right? Are you ready for this? This is one of my coworkers at the company that I have the privilege of working with, and when she found out I was doing a couple episodes on why people leave church, she was fascinated, and she has a great story to share, and I'm going to give her an opportunity to do that. So I hope you're ready for it, because I am. Let's go.
Hey, come take a walk with me, not like you used to do. Do something different and put yourself in other people's shoes. Open up your mind and open up your eyes and change your direction, change your perspective.
Welcome into Other People's Shoes. I'm your host, Neil, and I'm getting to sit with a gal that I know. I'm always curious of people's first impressions of me, but maybe we'll get into that sometime down the road. But right now, I'd like to introduce a coworker of mine. Her name is Amanda.
Hello.
Hi, Amanda. And Amanda is not a former youth. Although we do work with one of my former youth kids, by the way.
Is she going to do a podcast?
I'm hoping. So
Has
maybe
she
we
not
could
committed?
Maybe we could work on that.
Okay.
But we are on this journey again, just to get you up to speed in case you haven't been up to speed on why people leave the church. I'm fascinated by this topic. I would say, in complete honesty, as a podcast host, this idea has really, in a sense, taken over. I would even use the verbiage hostage my podcast, because it's so exciting to me to get down and to get in the nitty-gritty of why people leave church, because I'm fascinated by this topic. Because for me, I've been reading this book that the Barna Group put out called You Lost Me, and it's kind of centering around why people leave church, why young people leave church, and kind of what happens. And so Amanda has graciously said, you know what? I can bring value to that. And so she's going to come on today and talk about that. So, Amanda, my first question to lead off with, it is a total nonsense question, but it's fun. What size shoe do you wear?
Oh, in women's or in kids? I have really small
both?
feet. So in boys' shoes,
Okay.
I can wear a 6.
Okay.
So I have pretty small feet.
Okay.
Depends on the shoe, but most of the time I'm running between like a 5.5 and a 6.
Those are some small shoes to fit in today.
I know. I think it's probably the only thing that identifies me by my heritage race of being Asian.
Okay, there you
Other
go.
than that.
All right, so that clues you in on kind of some
What I may
lineage
look
and some
like.
background on Amanda.
Yeah.
Yep. So you said 5. We're going to stick with that?
5.5, 6. I
Five
think
and-
6 is a good one.
6 is good. Okay,
Yeah.
so 6, just so I can get in my head now, 6 in men's.
No, women's.
Excuse me, 6 in women's. Okay.
6 in little boys.
6 in little boys. Got it. Okay.
I tested that just out of curiosity.
Nice. Okay. So 6 in women's. And then do you have a shoe of choice that you like? If you're wearing these, this is your favorite shoe. I know ladies have one. Come on, to be honest. Do you have a favorite shoe that we're wearing today in your size 6?
I like to wear Chucks and Vans.
There you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Chucks and Vans.
Yeah, I like to keep it simple.
Okay. There you go. Okay. And I myself am wearing my Jordans, size 11.
And your Tar Heel blues.
They are Tar Heel blues. So in honor of my beloved team.
I feel like you're all Tar Heeled out though.
I am. Hat,
Headphones.
cup. We'll get to the
clothes.
cup coming down the way. Shirt.
Yeah.
I usually have something Tar Heels on when I'm not at our company. We do work together. Amanda and I have worked together for, I've been back to our company a year now, and I think you were there when I was there before.
I'm coming up on my 4-year anniversary apparently in February.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. That company that will, again, I love the fact that we will continue to remain nameless.
Yes.
We had Uriah on, who also works with us, and it was great fun. So, all right, so let's dig into this. Size shoes, 6, women's, Chucks or Vans, depending on your preference, ladies or gents. So here we go. We're digging in. Amanda, why did you first start coming to church and youth group / church? How old were you? And when was that? And what did that look like?
I was raised Catholic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're raised Catholic.
I was baptized into the church. So Catholicism, you're baptized, and then you have your holy sacraments that you go through. So I was baptized, and I think I was in the church for a really long time. I think we started going when I was like 5 or 6. And so we would go to Catholic Mass, and then we would go to Sunday Bible school right after. And then my mom would lead those, and then I did that all the way through 6th grade. And then when you get into middle school, you can be a teacher's assistant. So I was a teacher's assistant for my mother. And then when I got into high school, I started teaching kindergarten. Challenging in itself.
It's like herding cats.
Yeah, it is. It's like trying to get them focused and come up with those arts and crafts to keep them entertained that teaches them about Jesus.
Gotcha. Okay.
Jazz. So when you turn 18, you make the decision to go through confirmation, which is basically the equivalent to what Christians go through when they choose to get baptized, because you don't get baptized until you make that choice as a Christian, whereas Catholicism, there's sacraments. So in the Catholic Church, getting confirmed is basically that process for Christians. And it's very class-based. You go to like monthly classes with the priest, and you learn more and more about the faith. And then you just confirm that you are going to be Catholic from here on out. And then the final sacrament, I believe, is marriage. So when I was going through confirmation, I was in high school, and all of my friends were Christian, and they were going to one of the well-known churches in the area. And they would ask me all these questions, like, as a Catholic, why are you worshiping? Like, why do you pray to saints? Why do you put so much stock into Mary? Why do you have a prayer? Why do you do the rosaries? And I was like, I don't know. We just do it because we do it. And so we took this opportunity and we asked the priest, and I said, why do we pray to the saints? And he says, well, why do you ask your friends to pray for you when you're having a hard time in life? And it's like, okay, that makes sense. But then I went on and to be like, I remember when we were doing communion, my parents couldn't get communion. Like, you, as a kid, you can't take communion until you go through your first Holy Communion and accept the bread and the wine as the body of the Christ. And so I'm like, well, why can't they? Well, comes to find out, because my parents weren't married in a church, their marriage wasn't recognized. And so me and my sister were considered bastard children in the eyes of the church. So my parents couldn't. I'm
going to jump in
communion.
with a wow there. So keep going, but a wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to hear that as a church that doesn't recognize that my family is a whole family because they didn't get married in the church, that kind of put me off. And then I couldn't get on board with that. And so instead of arguing with my parents, because it seemed like something my mom really wanted me to do, I just went through confirmation. But after I got confirmed, I had nothing to do with the church, but it also had to do with the life event that had happened right after I had graduated high school, where my dad had a stroke. At that time, he was working in Salem away from home. We would see him once a month when he would come home. And when he had his stroke, some things had come to light. I think he was having outside marital affairs. That hasn't really been confirmed or not, but I think with what we found, it may have. So I was upset with that and the situation. I was about to go to college. I was about like a month out from going. So I had made the decision to not go to college to help my mom because his final stroke was very, very impairing. So at that point, I was working 2 full-time jobs, a part-time job, and basically just being a second adult in the household to help my mother. My sister was in high school at the time, so she had just started like her freshman year. So that had a serious impact on my sister, as well as seeing all of the transgression and the turmoil in the house because of the stroke. My dad had some mental instabilities that we were trying to get a hold of on top of the financial aspects of it all. So at that point, I kind of just stopped putting stock into God. Not necessarily like I didn't believe in him or anything to that effect, but he wasn't in the forefront of my mind. And then after that, after everything had settled down, a year later, I went to the college that I was supposed to go to, left the house, was living on campus, ended up rooming with 2 girls, one who was very on fire for God, and then another one who was not into it at all, doesn't talk about God, doesn't believe in God. So living in that situation, I was just like, great, I'm living with a girl who's on fire for God. She's probably going to like thump the Bible at me. But she really wasn't. She was actually very, very nice about it. She was very nonchalant. She said, if you want to, this is the church I'm going to. You're always welcome to. And then one day I went with her to the Way up in Portland and got introduced to that. And it was a very different experience because, again, growing up in a Catholic household and going to Catholic Mass where Catholicism is very procedural, and then going to something so much more of a relationship, more of a dialogue, that was a very different feel for me. So I was like, okay, I could get into this. This is more like for me. So I decided to, it was like October of 2011 is when I decided to accept Christ into my life again. And I started going to church regularly on Sundays, and then I would go to work. And then that's part of how I met my now husband. He was part of the church, but he was also friends with my roommate, and he had just gotten back from basic when I had met him, and then we started dating a few months after that. And he grew up in the church. He started in youth groups, so he had friends that were there. So he had like a presence in there. He had roots in the church that he was at. And then he ended up going away overseas. While he was overseas, I was participating in a college campus Bible study with my roommate at the time. And it was a different experience for me because going into a Catholic church, I didn't feel connected at all. And I'm like, okay, going to a Christian church and I have these friends and stuff, I should feel some sense of home. But I didn't feel the sense of home. Like, I had friends that were in the church. I should have been accepted. But nobody really outside reached out. Nobody wanted to make that genuine connection. And so I'm like, I'll have to give it time. Haven't been here very long. I'm probably going to have to, build those relationships. Well, with Aaron being overseas and him already having these relationships and being in the age of social media where everybody friends you and all of that, I'm like, okay. So I'm in college, going to school, going to these Bible studies, going to church. Aaron's overseas, and it was hard for us. Like, it was our first year of our serious relationship. And he was dealing with all the negativity of being overseas, 12 hours on, 12 hours off, no days off.
Where's he stationed at?
He was in Kabul.
So that's in Afghanistan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And he was on a base, an embassy base. So it wasn't like he was out in the field. He had access to internet, so we would talk on a regular. We had iPhones, so as long as he had internet, we could iMessage, essentially. So with me being the only connection to normal civilization, we would talk all the time. But it got to the point where I felt like I needed to read a book because I didn't have anything else to say. I lived a very boring life. I went to college, I went to classes, I went to work, I did my homework, I stayed up for you until 2 o'clock in the morning because you were on the other side of the world, go to sleep, do it all over again. So that was pretty much my life, which wasn't like bad or anything. I'm not saying I regret it. But for him, in the perspective of where he was at, he's just like, I'm in prison while you're living your life. It's like, yeah, but my relationship is with you. My life kind of got put on pause because you're there too. Like, I can't fully live my life because I can't go do things that I'd like to do with you because you're not there. So it was a challenge. We had a lot of arguments. A lot of those arguments were on social media. Some of them ended up on Facebook, some of them were on Twitter, but the thing is that because of that transparency, people in the church saw it. But nobody asked me when they saw me on Sundays, how are things going? How are you feeling? How is Aaron doing?
Even though it's public.
It's public.
These disagreements, these challenges, relationship challenges,
right,
are very much different in a lot of respects. Because he's overseas,
mm-hmm.
and this is his home church, and yet you're saying nobody really rallied around you or even rallied around him,
right,
to say, hey, how can we help? Where can we come in and give you guidance or give you some
support?
Yeah,
right.
Thank you. I was looking for that.
So
Continue.
I was sending him care package. It got to the point where it was like, is anybody talking to him? Maybe they should. So I would be like, hey guys, you guys can always message him or whatever. I know he really misses you guys and he would like to hear what's going on in your lives. And they would do it once in a while, but not enough for it to take any weight off of me where I felt like I could back off a little bit and let him have conversations with other people.
Did you ever go to any of the leadership and say, listen, guys, gals, whoever, I need help? Did that conversation ever occur on your side?
No, because I was embarrassed.
Okay.
I was embarrassed about this.
So in fairness to them, right?
Yeah. In fairness to them, I didn't reach
right.
out, but at the same time, I was embarrassed about how things were being handled and how my relationship was being put on blast and how it would be perceived of me, somebody who's new to the church. And then my idea of the Christian faith is it's like we're there to help and support you, and we'll lend a hand if we see that something's happening, but nobody did it.
Okay. And before you continue, I'm going to point out some So a couple of things. First, we're sitting in Starbucks because someone
Doesn't
who
want
will
to sit
remain
outside. It's cold.
nameless is cold. So we're inside Starbucks. So you're probably going to hear some Starbucksy sounds, some Starbucksy customers. Is that a thing? I don't know. But hopefully in the editing process, we'll try to eliminate as much as we can. So just want to point that out. But I also want to point out, too, we didn't say this at the onset. Amanda's not coming on here to bash the Catholic Church.
Oh,
right?
yes. No, I'm not.
You're not coming on to bash any other church, per se.
No.
You're just sharing your experience of what your perception of how you felt through this process.
Yes.
And our goal is not to bash a church or to condemn or to, cast shade or whatever you want to say. I don't know. That's not our purpose here. Our purpose is just to hear her side, her story of what happened. So continue on.
So Aaron was overseas and we were fighting a lot, and it got to the point where it was about spring term and I was doing finals and I had just been so fed up with it that I said, you know what, I'm tired of putting all this energy into it and all I'm getting is negativity and terrible things being said left and right. And all you get from me is I love you and I miss you and I'm thinking about you. And then you're afraid that one day you're going to get shot and you're not going to come back. And you leave me with that. You need to start thinking about it, but I don't have the patience or the time for this anymore when I am the only one who's supporting you. So we ended up taking a break. He had to reevaluate some things, put it in perspective. And like, in his defense, there were people around him who were having affairs, who were having a hard time in their relationships. People were cheating on them on the other side.
These are other enlisted guys.
These are the other enlisted guys,
Okay.
his battles.
Battle buddies, or
Yeah.
is that what they're called?
Yeah,
Did I get that right?
They call them battles.
Battles now?
Yes.
Okay.
Or battle buddies. I
Battle
think they
buddies.
just dropped off the buddies
The
and
buddy
left the
part?
battles because it sounds cooler.
Yeah, the
So,
battles. Okay.
in his defense, like, when you're around all of that, that becomes your reality. So it's easy to think, well, Amanda could be doing it. But I wasn't. But again, I can understand it. Was it right? No. But I get it. And
Right.
that was the hard part, too, is all of your friends or all of my friends are civilians. They don't have a civilian to military relationship. So whatever advice they give you, it's not going to be relevant because they aren't in your position. They are not, as you put it, your shoes.
I was just going to say, so they're not in your shoes is what I'm hearing you
Exactly.
say. Okay.
So they're not in your shoes to be able to give you that advice. I probably had only 2 friends who understood that and said, this is what I could give you. And in any normal circumstance, we would all tell you, don't put up with this and go, break up with him and go be with somebody who's going to treat you better. But the thing is, Aaron always treated me so well. He always talked to me with so much respect. And all of this disrespect and negativity wasn't him. And so I had to remind myself, this isn't him. This is the environment. This is the negativity that he's in. And so when he came back, we had to repair some damages and trust that was lost in the relationship. And we also had to figure out our communication style and how we argued, because we would both argue very differently. Like, he would say whatever came to his mind in that moment and apologize for it later. With me, where I completely shut down and have to think about it. And so, like, you have 2 people who are pulling in opposite directions. And I had to say to Aaron, is like, you can't just say whatever comes into your mind at that moment, because once you say it, it's out there, whether you meant it or not. So that one day you call me a wicked witch, I'm going to think every time I make you mad, I'm a wicked witch, or that's all that's going to be in my head, even though that's not what you meant. It was just in the heat of the moment.
And again, meanwhile, church is not
Still
there.
absent.
Still absent.
Mm-hmm.
Still kind of. Now that he's come back, is there any guys that rallied around him again? Because he's
No.
now in the picture again. He's now right there.
Right. He started going to a youth group, young adult youth group, essentially, and he would go to Bible studies. I think it was co-ed. Actually, it was co-ed. I went once.
So like a college group.
Sort of. Not all of them were college, but it was like college age.
Okay.
And it was led by the senior pastor's son.
Okay.
So he would go to those, and he was part of the children's ministry.
But you would not go.
I wouldn't go
Why not?
because I had my own that I was going to
Okay.
at college.
Okay, so you're going
Yeah.
to basically different groups,
Yeah.
but still a Jesus group
Yes.
per se.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, essentially. And so he would go, and I would go to mine on different days, obviously. So there was some nights where he would be away while I was at home, or vice versa. And also to mention, he had come back, and he and I got a place together. Because while
What?
yes.
So you're living together now in sin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
By
Because-
Bible standards.
by Bible standards,
Okay.
that we were living in sin. But in our heads, it's like we were on the path to being married. We wanted to be married. There was that commitment. Like, he and I got engaged a few months after he had come back.
So does anybody know at the church that you're living together?
Yeah. His friends who were going to the Bible studies, like, we didn't put it on social media. Hey, we got our place together.
Got our keys.
But people would come to our house or our place, our
who
apartment.
were in the church.
Yeah, and they would
Church
come out.
leaders would
Yeah.
come to your house too?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
no, not church leaders. We didn't hang out with church leaders outside.
Okay.
Um,
Was there a reason for that? I mean, were you I mean, I guess is what I'm trying to ask is there was no shame in your heart.
No.
You didn't feel anything you were doing was a sin per se
Right.
because of your living together.
Right.
And I'm guessing living together comes with other things as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We don't have to go down that road too
Yeah.
much, but okay. All right.
So
both those things are happening.
both of those things are happening.
Okay.
And
Both those actions, we'll say.
yes, both
Okay.
of those actions that married people should only partake per
Good.
Bible.
Good. Okay.
So,
now that we
um,
got that established, it's out of the way. All right,
yeah.
keep going.
So, and I'm like saying that, like, yeah, I'm proud of it. Like, I own it.
Well, good. It's good to own your stuff. That's all I'm
Right.
saying. Yeah.
Own it. So, we're living together, and he's going to his Bible studies. And then, not long after we get engaged, not long while, I think it was probably, is Father's Day, a couple weekends before Father's Day weekend, I had found out I was pregnant. So Aaron, wanting to be upfront about it,
Transparent.
transparent,
Okay.
tells the youth pastor, hey, Amanda and I are pregnant. And he says, oh, you need to talk to the senior pastor about this. This is something that I appreciate you coming to me, but this is something that you need to talk to the senior pastor about. If there's anything that we can do, let me help you. And
That's
so,
nice, right? It's the first time they've really kind of stepped up to the plate per se.
yeah, and I think it sounded like it was going to be okay, but Aaron was a little nervous about it. And the timing wasn't great either because Aaron was getting ready to go away for a couple of weeks for drill obligations because he's in the Army. And he said, I'm not going to be able to have time right away to tell him, but I just wanted to be upfront with you, and it's not like I'm trying to hide it or anything to that effect. So,
Well, pastors are busy.
right.
Yeah.
So, from what we understood, the senior pastor and his son weren't allowed to be talking about things that, people at the church come and bring them. It's supposed to be like a confidence kind of thing. Like,
Okay.
somebody comes to you in confidence. We don't gossip about it.
That's noble.
So, when they put the ball in Aaron's court, I guess it was taking longer than they would have liked it to. So, the son had told his father, and his father reached out to Aaron and said, hey, let's get some coffee. Let's meet tomorrow. So Aaron went and he opened up and he's like, so I hear that you and Amanda are expecting. We didn't know that you guys were living together. We didn't know you guys were in a serious relationship. We don't know anything about you. But he's like, and I'm afraid that with Amanda being pregnant, you guys are going to try to hide it from the church.
Was that a question or was that a statement on his part, do you feel like? You weren't there, right?
I wasn't there. The way
Right.
that Aaron had said it was a statement.
Okay.
And
Rather than a question saying, is your intention to try to hide it?
right, yeah.
Right.
And the thing is like, well, we're telling you, so how do you come to the conclusion we're trying to hide it and run from the church? And the other thing, too, is that there was a lot of assumptions made about Aaron and myself, and that wasn't our fault that you don't know the details of our relationship. Like, you didn't put much stock into us.
Do you feel you guys did everything you could to be connected in the church, to be known, to be in a small group, maybe to, have people surround you that maybe could mentor you?
Aaron more so than me, but
Okay.
I'm not a go out there kind of person.
You're more introverted?
I'm more introverted when
Okay.
it comes to group settings.
Okay.
So Aaron was more involved. He had more of those connections. I would go to dinner with him, with some of these people, the elders, and what have you. And I can only think of our immediate friends who were supportive and didn't stop talking to us once we had announced that we were pregnant. And then there was a couple that were super supportive. They had us over for dinner. They let us come over to their house and swim. They would ask me how I was feeling. They gave me a book on marriage and relationships and the 5 languages of love. And they were what you would envision as a Christian couple or Christian people, where they were kind and they were helping and they were supportive and they weren't casting the stone. They were almost as excited. They got us baby gifts. So
they were trying, at least, this couple,
right.
to be in your mind what Jesus would be to most people.
Exactly.
And what you've read through the Bible.
Yes, and
Okay.
I think that they were genuinely kind people. And
Now, were they in leadership in any fashion? Do you know?
I want to say that the husband was.
Okay.
And I feel like his wife was in a lot of the women's ministry. And so when Aaron had come to the pastor had essentially told Aaron that he couldn't participate in spin ministries anymore with the children. And he basically told Aaron that he wanted to give us marriage counseling. And we agreed to it reluctantly just to see how it would go. Aaron isn't really open to counseling, so that's why we had to find our own way to work on our issues and work on our communication, and I feel like we've done a really good job of that. Like, now we don't argue ever, really. Like, it's minor, it's silly things. Like, I do the laundry more than you, or, petty stuff. But
I wash dishes more than you. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
I
an
took
argument.
out the garbage last
Yeah.
week. When was the last time you took it?
So weird stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is like silly
Sure.
stuff. But other than that, like, Aaron and I have come a long way. We're more open about the finances and all of that stuff. But when we took this test that the pastor had given us to take and submit to someone to evaluate, he got the results back. And we knew what the results were going to be, because keep in mind, at this point, Aaron and I have only been together for like 2 years now. And a huge part of that was him being overseas. And
So really, maybe like a year together
yeah, a year and a half, a year.
of actually like being together.
Yes,
Because I
like
mean,
being
even though
together.
you're overseas and you're having a relationship and development and all that, but there's no
Us.
face to face. There's no daily interaction.
No daily dates, no
No-
getting
right.
together.
There's
yeah.
no quirkiness, finding each other's little idiosyncrasies and whatnot. So it is hard to have that relationship long
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
distance wise, at least in my opinion.
It is.
Okay.
It was really, really hard.
Good. So really a year together solid
Yeah.
with him not overseas.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I think when he came back, we made huge strides. Like, we were working on how we fought, how we communicated. But the test that came back says you guys aren't open about your finances. You need to talk about this. You don't communicate well. You guys argue. You guys don't see eye to eye. And so the pastor's response was,
Because are these type of tests where you take it, he takes it, and you
Yeah.
don't share your answers,
Yeah.
but they can
Yeah.
basically can tabulate. That's not the right word. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I know
But-
what you're saying.
But basically, they come together. Like you take it, he takes it, and then they combine them.
With the results and
Yeah.
then find the
Okay.
conflicting issues.
Yes. Okay.
And-
I'm familiar with those tests.
Yeah.
So
I'm
okay.
not really a fan of them, actually. I mean,
They can be good and bad at the same time.
Yeah. So the pastor's phrasing was, these are deal breakers. And in my head, I'm thinking, they're not deal breakers. They're road bumps. They're hurdles. Like, they're only deal breakers if we're choosing not to work on them.
They're a step
Right. And the thing
towards
is,
the greater goal.
you don't know the history of our
Sure.
relationship, so you don't know where we were before we took this test.
Right.
So,
Was that explained to him at all?
No, because he didn't give us an opportunity to talk.
Okay. Fair enough.
So, and again, going into all of this with his own preconceived ideas of what our relationship was based on what he thought it to be, based on probably what people in the church had told him they thought it to have been.
And that's a speculation,
Yeah.
probably too, right?
Probably, but then part of me thinks that it's valid because once it all had come out, the elders had known, and people who used to interact with Aaron a lot stopped interacting with him.
Fair.
So that was my experience with the church.
So the relationship starts. Just to recap again, relationship starts. He gets back. You move in together. Obviously, with moving in comes kid, or a kid on the way.
Mm-hmm.
Church finds out. Church is disappointed per se, and then you guys leave.
Yeah. We didn't leave to leave. We had made the decision to move to Southern Oregon because the environment would have been better for Avery. We would be away from his family drama, and there was a better job opportunity for me and eventually for him. So
Do you remember how he left the church? Like what the circumstances were? Did he write a letter? Did he send a, hashtag we're out? I mean,
Hashtag peace out.
Yeah.
No, it was more along the lines of, we had told the senior pastor, hey, we'll do these, but Amanda's getting a job and she starts, and he's like, well, maybe we could do these. It's like, I don't think that's gonna work because we only did 2 of the meetings. And then
How many did he have in mind? Did he share that with you, like the process? Or,
No,
like
I don't
6
think-
months, 8 months, or whatever.
I don't recall, but I don't
Okay.
recall there ever being a deadline and or like a time frame of how long this would go. So we went to 2, and then after that, Aaron and I didn't participate in the church at all. We didn't.
Kind of just stopped showing up.
We just stopped showing up. Like, Aaron didn't have any reason to show up
Did
anymore.
anybody call?
No.
Pastor call?
No, but he was still hanging out with, like, members who would go to the church. But at that point, the church was dying. They were losing a lot of their youth when they had their former youth pastor leave to go start his own church. There was some, would you call it political drama in a church?
I think there's always anytime there's people around, there's political drama,
Okay.
at least in my mind.
So there was a little tension,
right?
I think,
I mean,
there. Yeah.
especially because we come from a corporate environment.
Yeah.
In our profession.
So with
yeah.
him leaving, there was some politicalness to it.
Sure.
And so some people ended up going with the former pastor to go create his own church.
Almost sounds like a church split,
Yeah, it was a church split or a divorce, essentially.
which is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of youth ended up going with him. And then I guess it didn't work out, but they had all found different homes in other churches that were more alive. And so that was another thing that I noticed about the church that Aaron and I were going to, was that it wasn't growing, and it wasn't full of youth.
Did you guys go every Sunday that you could?
Yes.
Okay. How big was the church when you guys were going every Sunday?
I don't know the amount of people.
Got a guess?
70 to 80?
Okay, so pretty small church. So if somebody's not there, I guess is my point, you're going to notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a church of, 1,600 where if, you miss, somebody might not notice.
Right.
But a church of 80, even a church of 90, you're
Yes.
not there, you're going to notice if Aaron and Amanda aren't there.
Right, and I didn't
guess
see a
is
lot
my
of new
point.
people coming in
Got
either.
it. Okay. All right.
So
So that's your story.
that's my story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Okay. So getting back into this, going back to even Catholic days and even maybe youth days and maybe even, post high school days when you were out of high school and kind of in those early college days. Is there anything back then that you learned that you're like, man, that's still something I use today? Is there anything that you feel like the church taught you that you now are carrying with you?
Oh gosh. I mean, not really.
Okay. And it's okay if you don't. I mean, I don't know. That's why
Yeah.
I'm asking, because I don't know.
I feel like talking to other people who have left churches or have had bad taste left in their mouth from it, that we don't need to congregate necessarily to be people of God.
Okay.
I think that if you can find a Bible study that you feel comfortable with, or a group of people that you can have that with, yeah, do that. But I feel like now churches are more business-like to keep the numbers, to keep them alive, to support themselves.
Right. So, again, Starbucks plug here. By the way, I'm not getting paid or sponsored by Starbucks. So if somebody from Starbucks hears this, I'm all open for that. But
Stop it.
just kidding. But we are sitting in a Starbucks. So one thing I noticed about sitting in a Starbucks is all of these people are coming for one central purpose. Do you know what that is?
They love coffee?
They love coffee. All of these people here, because I love coffee too, even though I'm not drinking any today, because that would make the show even more hyped up. But all of these people are coming for one central purpose, either for free Wi-Fi or for coffee. They're coming together for one central purpose. And in your mind, is that what the church should be?
I think that's what the church should be, and they should be better about doing what they teach. I feel like a lot of people end up leaving because they go to a place where they're like, I'm not going to be judged for the sins that I do every day because you're all doing the same thing. Like the pastor of the church that was judging me and Aaron so hardcore had an affair and cheated on his wife, and he was okay with judging us for having premarital sex and living together. One sin is not greater than the other.
That's true. There is truth to that.
So how can you sit there and judge me? So I feel like if people are wanting to keep their churches alive and growing and positive, they have to reinforce what it is they teach. They have to have that open, welcome environment. You can't just be like a high school clique.
You mentioned that you had made a decision for Jesus. somewhere along your journey.
Yes.
What did that look like? What event did that look like? Can you kind of describe maybe what that was like, what that felt like, what happened, the circumstances surrounding that?
So remember, I was growing up as Catholic. For
Right.
me, it was very procedural to have a relationship with God. You had to go and confess your sins to a priest in order to feel a connection to God. Where in Christianity, you just had to sit somewhere. You could be on a park bench and just have a conversation with God and feel his presence there. So, I mean, for me, after I had learned what Christianity was, my relationship with God wasn't procedural anymore. It's look at who you are as a person and know that you're doing good things and you're treating people with respect and kindness and not judging them and being open and accepting them for who they are and realize that they're human and they'll make a mistake. And then forgive them for that.
Would you view yourself as a Christian right now? And if so, what does that mean when I say that?
Do I view myself as a Christian? No.
Okay. and so no is the answer, and why not? Because you said at one point you were, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why not now?
Because I don't think that I fit the title or the definition of a Christian.
And
I
what
don't
and
go-
what is that?
I don't go to Bible studies. I don't read my Bible. I'm not well versed in it. I don't go to church. I don't commune. But I live by the same philosophy of treat people with respect. The 10 Commandments, essentially.
Okay. So what about discipleship? How does discipleship fit into your story, and how does that fit into where you are now?
I'm a very introverted person, so I don't think I do discipleship very well.
Okay. So you don't think you ever got discipled in church, and therefore you don't feel like that would be a good thing for you to have discipleship?
I feel like it would be a good thing, but at the same time, I don't know if it's for me. I have it with my husband, and he and I have that, but I mean, I want Avery to have it.
That's your daughter,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
I want her to have it, but
Now, why is it so important for her to have it, but not for you?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I want
You're
her
not
to
going to.
want her to
I
be
always say this
exposed
at
to
the
it.
onset. I think, for those who don't know, I grew up in the church.
Yeah.
I grew up as a church kid. I
Mhm.
went from the time I was born till now.
Mhm.
I was a youth pastor. I've been on the church staff. I've worked with youth since I was 19. I'm 38 now. I'll be 39 in March. So my filter is, yes, of course, this Christian lens. And even I be honest with you, if we're being totally candid with each other, I hate the word Christian. It appears 3 times in the Bible. That's it, 3.
Well, not only that, but I think it also goes with politics. There's no such thing as a bleeding heart liberal and a true heart Republican anymore. They're outdated.
And it really is a label, right?
Right.
And it's such just a catchphrase label, like, I'm an accountant. Well, what kind of an accountant are you? Are you a public accountant? Are you a private accountant? Are you a...
Do you do the receivables? Do you do the payables?
Right.
Do you do...
Right. I
the-
mean,
yeah.
you see what I'm saying? There's so much encapsulating that word,
Right.
accountant, or collections, or whatever. And so with that being said, the word disciple appears way more than 3 times. And so for me, and maybe for you, and that's why I asked the disciple question, is, do you feel like you're a disciple of anybody? Do you feel like anybody's pouring into you as far as a faith base? And I don't even want to say religion, because I hate that word, because when I think of religion, right, I think of rules.
Right.
I think of what you described as with Catholicism. And again, not bashing Catholicism.
It's just procedural.
Just procedural, right? You do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. So I'm just curious, from your standpoint, how does discipleship fit into your life?
I don't think I've ever really thought about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why not?
Because I haven't had this conversation. I haven't had this kind of conversation
right.
with anybody before.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Is anybody pouring into your life currently on a spiritual level other than your husband?
no. I can't say that we have a lot of friends that do that or are in that realm of life anymore.
Is that important to you?
No.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, no. And for Avery, when she gets older, like, we want her to make the decision as to what she does and doesn't want to. But, I mean, we will explain to her, this is what your dad and I grew up believing, and that is what we believe. If you choose to believe it, that's up to you. But if you choose not to, that's fine as well.
So I'm gonna take a really hard right turn here. Really hard right turn.
Oh, gosh.
Going off my notes. This is always going to be dangerous.
Uh-oh.
So here we go. Here's the hard right turn. A little morbid, so hang with me. If something were to happen to you right now, massive heart attack, maybe you get hit by a car. Not saying I wish this upon you, because you're a really valued friend of mine. I think we are. Are we in the friend category?
I think so. You left a note on my desk that says I value your kindness.
I do value your kindness. But if something were to happen to you, or even Aaron, where's your final destination? Where are you going? Is there a heaven in your mind, and is there a hell? And
you know, it's funny. Aaron and I kind of talked about this a little while ago, because for him, he sees nothing. Like, conceptually, he believes that there's a heaven, and he knows it is. But I think for him, he struggles with the part that you don't know for sure.
But I'm talking about you.
For me,
I mean, I love that you keep bringing Aaron in.
No,
and that's fine. I wish he was here.
It was going somewhere with
Okay,
this.
good. All right.
So he said that, and I was just like, I think that's interesting that you say that, because we grew up believing in God. We believed in a heaven and a hell. And for me, my version of hell is a little different, because, again, being Catholic, there's like 7 layers of hell, and it's not eternal. But you, like, basically serve your time in prison, and then you can go to heaven, I think is how it works.
Sure.
For me,
I don't know that one, so I'm going to trust you on that one.
I think that, or I'm just going off of the movie with Robin Williams, What Dreams May Come.
Which is a great movie.
It's a fantastic movie. Anyway, for me, I believe that there's a heaven, and I believe that I should be there.
Why do you believe that you should be there, though?
Because I'm human, and I make mistakes, and God forgives me for them, and I ask for apologies, and I try to be the best person that I can.
Okay, but Jesus said this, and I'm going to quote the Bible to you. He said, if you confess with your mouth that I am Lord, I will come in and cleanse you from all unrighteousness. Basically, fancy word, church word for all your bad stuff. Do you feel like, because at one point you made a decision, you said, at one point maybe you raised your hand or you went forward, somebody prayed for you, whatever, and said, hey, I believe in Jesus. You've made those steps, but then now, here forward, you're like, no, I just don't know. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, is where was that change? Where was that U-turn? Where was that flip the script, whatever adjective you want to insert in there? Where did that take place?
The place where I accepted God, and then now I'm kind of like lukewarm, not on fire.
Yeah, because, Jesus also says that if you're lukewarm, he spits you out.
Yeah.
Vomits you out, to be exact. But
oh, that sounds terrible.
It does.
I think it's my experience with the Catholic Church and not having a connection and going into a Christian church that wasn't welcoming that turned me off and kind of made me lukewarm. I wanted that on fireness. I wanted to feel part of a community that was striving for a positive relationship with God, and I just never got it. And I felt like if I went to any of the churches, again, that I'd still be in that hole of blah. I'm still lukewarm. I will admit I'm still lukewarm, but I still pray.
So I'm going to take that and I'm going to run with that analogy. So you and I have joked about your name for a long time because I knew a girl in middle school. Her name was Amanda. She was really mean to me. And so for me, if I took that same logic and I said, well, every girl that I ever meet that's named Amanda is going to be exactly like that girl from middle school, exactly like her. So I'm not going to have anything to do with anybody ever that's named Amanda because they're all going to be the same. You're a very intelligent person, but that's the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard you say.
Other than swear words?
Other than swear words. But do you hear the logic in that?
No, I do.
Okay, and I'm not trying to beat you up over that.
No,
I really am not. But I'm just trying to.
It's a very valid point.
But I'm just trying to bring up a point to say that is so weird to even.
But when you talk to other people who leave the church for the same exact reasons where they were part of this church that you hear in the community is really good, but then you talk to somebody who leaves because that church is exactly the reason why you left yours, you're thinking, okay, so it's an epidemic with the Christian churches.
And it really is. There's no getting away from that. Youth are leaving, and when I say youth, high school, post high school are leaving churches, Christian, evangelical, maybe even Mormon. I don't know what the research is on Mormon churches or other faiths, but they are leaving for whatever reason. And so that to me is why we're here.
Are they leaving though? Like, there has been studies or there has been research that says that youth are leaving because they want church to conform to how society is changing. But people who are very like into their churches and very driven into their faith say that church doesn't have to conform to society.
So we're going to get into that. I got a couple more questions and then we'll dig into that because we'll put a pin in that and then we'll come back to it. So real quick, did the church fail you in any way in your mind?
Yes.
How so?
They didn't pour into me.
Okay.
I made the effort to show up and be a part of your community, but your community wasn't accepting of me.
Fair enough. So likewise, you feel like the leadership failed you as well?
Yes.
Okay. Same answer.
Yes.
They really just didn't pour into you as well. Okay. Got that out. Greatest moment in church that you remember? Is there one?
I think for a brief moment, it was when I was going to church with my roommate and with Aaron and the friends that we had in the church. It was good for the beginning, and then when you started to see the politics of it and understood how people operated and how many secrets were happening because they were afraid of what they were going to be judged, it was very gilded.
Okay. And then probably that's probably your least favorite moment too, right? Is feeling like you're being
it's a bittersweet
gossiped
moment
and talked about too. So so you mentioned Avery.
Yes.
What will you tell her about church?
That it's something that she should experience and make a decision for herself as to what she wants to do with that. And we will support her in any decision that she makes.
Okay. And then I want to leave with this last question, and then we'll get into our little Barna study. Who has authority in your life right now?
Me.
Does that worry you at all?
Yes.
Why?
Because I make mistakes and I say stupid things.
Okay. Just checking. All right.
Did you just want me to confirm that to say, Neil, you're right?
No, I didn't. But
balance our scales.
It does feel good when I hear that. I'm not going to lie. Okay. So these are 6 reasons why people leave church. You ready? We're just going to blast through these and just say agree or disagree. And then if you want to give like a quick explanation why, that's cool too. Okay. Or if you just say, I agree and I don't really have a reason why, but I like it. Okay. Churches seem overprotective. Number 1 reason why people leave. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
Why?
Because I don't think overprotective is the right word. I think it's overbearing.
Okay.
I
so
feel like
almost
they're
like a helicopter.
parent.
We've had this conversation.
Yes, a helicopter parent.
Pre-show, we did have a helicopter conversation. So reason number 2, teens and 20-somethings experience of Christianity is shallow. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Okay. Why?
Because we have become a society where we are very superficial. We have social media that we think that what people post is their life, but we don't. Like the suicide rate thing. Like we never know that somebody's going to commit suicide because we ignore all the signs.
Right. Okay. Churches come across antagonistic towards science. Agree or disagree? That's a tough word, by the way. Antagonistic.
Unsure.
Okay. So in other words, I think the stance comes from you can't be a church-going person and subscribe to science and knowing about science and all that other stuff. Science seems very anti-Bible in a lot of respects. People feel that way. So I think that's where it comes across.
Scientist Christians?
Yeah, there's tons.
So see, I kind of don't know because I don't think I've ever been a part of a church that said you cannot participate in science.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah. I'm unsure.
So young Christians' church experience related to sexuality often is simplistic or judgmental.
Agree.
Why?
Because I had 2 friends who were in the church that came out as gay, and they were no longer welcomed, and they had to find another church that was more accepting.
Yeah. So there you go. Reason number 5: wrestle with the exclusive nature of Christianity. That's reason number 5.
Say that again?
They wrestle with the exclusive nature of Christianity.
Oh, yes.
Why? Agree or disagree first?
They struggle with the exclusivity.
Yeah.
Exclusive, whatever the word is.
Exclusivity?
It's such a weird word.
It is a weird word.
They struggle with that.
Yeah, they do struggle with that. I'm struggling with saying it.
I think it's like, what does that mean?
Well, so I think it comes out of, again, this...
Or what's the context
Sure,
of that?
yeah. So Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. No one comes to the Father except through him. So he is the only way.
Mm-hmm.
He is the only truth. He is the only way. So that's pretty exclusive. Right? There's not another way.
That's the context.
Yeah, that is the context.
I don't think that's it.
Okay. But that's what they say people leave. So last one. Reason number 6. Church feels unfriendly to those who doubt.
Yes.
Why?
Because if you doubt, there are some people who approach it not necessarily as an opportunity to educate you, but more as a stone to throw at you for not being on fire. They're not accepting that you're lukewarm in it.
Okay.
And wanting to help you get a better understanding or help fill in that gap that you're lacking. So yeah, I could see that.
I lost my phone.
What do you need it for?
For our game.
Oh.
Okay, so here's my last question. If a friend invited you to church, would you go?
I would go, but probably not for the intent that they'd want me to go.
Which would be?
To continue to go, I think I would just go to humor them so they don't ask me again.
Okay. So you would go just to humor them, not because you want to go and be a part of things and really, in a sense, give them a second chance. Give, excuse me, and when I say them, the church. Right.
This would be my third chance.
How many chances is Aaron given you when you've made a mistake?
Oh gosh, you would go there.
We're friends, so I have extra liberty, right?
I don't make mistakes. Aaron's always wrong. Even though he's asking me right now what kind of wine I want for dinner tonight, so.
I seriously can't find my phone.
Did you bring it?
I did.
You have an iWatch. You could have found it that way.
Too many pockets in my backpack. Okay.
You should probably bring it closer.
So I feel like if we were going to end with something, I feel like hopefully through this experience, my hope would be that you would consider the idea of what it would look like to maybe try again. Because, maybe they made some mistakes in the past.
Yeah.
And, maybe you can bring value, because I believe everyone brings value. Maybe you bring value to the church into what you do. So, I don't know. It could be wrong, but that's just what I think. Okay, you ready for my game?
Yes.
You've been looking forward to this the whole time, I know.
I know. Round 2, and I still don't know what it is.
Round 2. We did try to tape an earlier episode. That's probably why Amanda sounded so rehearsed. Rehearsed?
Yes.
Is that the word rehearsed? I don't know what the word is. Seasoned.
So seasoned.
Seasoned.
Yes.
So
we were
really
interrupted the first time around.
We were interrupted the first time around. So this is second take. A little longer this time, but we got some stuff. So before we play our game, I just want to say this. I am super excited that you got to come on.
I'm super excited to be here.
I'm super excited that you gave me a Saturday afternoon away from your family, away from your husband, away from your daughter, in a very noisy Starbucks because we were too cold to be outside. But I do want to say you are a tremendous person that I've really enjoyed getting to know on a professional level. I think you bring a lot of value into what we do, even though I don't know exactly what you do, but I know you do a really good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I've heard a lot of good things and you're a hard worker.
I am.
And you're very nice in sharing food with me because I love food.
You share your bowl with me from
I
time
do.
to time.
We do share salad bowls, but
after they've been washed.
Let's
clarify.
So here's our game.
Okay.
So you get a die in there, and it's in this amazing cup. Do you want to describe the cup for everyone?
For those of you who don't know Neil, he's a Cincinnati Tar Heel fan. Is that right?
Wow, no, they're North Carolina.
Oh, sorry, North Carolina. I don't know sports.
That's okay. It's the N and the C.
I was kind of curious what the NC was. He's a Tar Heels fan. So it's a baby blue cup with the North Carolina Carolina logo.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, so roll the die, Ash.
It says Carolina on there. I'm
I
such
know.
a moron.
Didn't want to go there, but it does say Carolina. So what'd you get? Ooh, you got a number 1.
'Cause I'm
Yes.
awesome.
This is a good one.
Oh, no.
I like this
what is
question.
it?
Here's the last question. So we're playing Senseless. This is my favorite game. So all of these, if you had roll the 1 through 5, they're the 5 senses, and then I throw in a 6, which is just a random question. But here's the question. Number 1. How do you think others see you? How do others view you, basically?
Oh, okay. This isn't going to sound self-absorbed in any way, right?
I don't know. I hope not. I don't know. I don't know what you're going to say.
Well, I mean, a lot of people have come to me and they say that I give off the vibe that I'm very confident, but I'm also very intimidating. And to be honest, I'm not very confident, and I don't think I'm intimidating. I think I've had to adjust how I communicate and interact with people because a lot of the general consensus was you're intimidating because you're very smart and you know what it is that you want, and that's probably where the self-confidence comes from. But I'm very insecure. I'm very, very nice. I don't judge you. And it's probably because I don't like being judged. I mean, yeah, I can be a little judgy and jokingly say, I judged you for this, but it's not like I'm going to put you in that category and lock you in it. I'm going to let you prove to me. Because for me, I'm a show me, don't tell me kind of person. So if you're telling me that you're a trustworthy person, I'm not going to trust you until you show me that I can trust you. And I'm not going to respect you unless you show me that you should be respected. And I think that's kind of a weird philosophy for people to kind of get because everybody's like, give everybody respect. And it's like, some people don't deserve it because of how they treat me, which means they don't respect me. I'll be kind to you and I'll be cordial to you and professional in the workplace, but I'm not going to go out of my way to kiss your feet and make you feel like the best thing on the planet. That's not my job.
Well, and again, I think that's what life's all about, right?
Right.
Is trying to figure our way through it.
Right.
And how others see us, and maybe being more aware of how others see us.
And I try to be.
Right.
Because I'm very self-conscious and I don't like being judged.
Right. Well, again, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. This, of course, is Other People's Shoes, and I just want to remind everyone once again, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really get a different perspective on life.